We are in my dad's car. My mom sitting in the back seat with me with the puppy, her favorite puppy. Over here, over here, over here. I am not a very good son. And before you judge me or try to patronize me, I'm just stating a fact. It's not a self-recrimination. It's not I don't say it out of regret. It's fact. I'm not a very good son. Mostly because my parents hasn't been all that good as parents goes. Because most of my childhood I was brought up by other people. Meru for the biggest part, and then lived with my stepmother Maria on and off for a few years. A time of life that I wish I can forget or never had to go through. In a big part, it's quite possible that those years was what seeded my lack of respect for my mom. I think way back then there was a resentment building inside me that how could my mom let me go through those years without stopping it. You know, you sleep with someone's husband, and then you give your kid to that certain someone to raise. Uh, what do you think would happen? It's just so obvious. So to me, I think way back then it's seeded this deep resentment I had for my mom. That said, I've done my best to try to be, if not a good son, but be a uh, be a son that she could be proud of, and be a son that she could be friend with. And in some ways, I say, even though we don't have the bond of mother and child, now we can treat each other as good friends. We can talk and laugh on the phone. That hasn't always been the case. Me and my mom actually had a harder time communicating with each other than even me and my father. But whenever my mom was around on Mother's Day, which wasn't very often, I always tried to do something special for her. Uh, until the one day she wounded me so deeply that was the last gift I ever bought for her. I think this was in 2003. It was Mother's Day, and I went out shopping, and I spent quite a bit of money on this beautiful triple layer crystal beaded candelabra. So on Mother's Day, I presented that candelabra to her and waited with bated breath, hoping that there would be some appreciation. And she opened it and held it in her hand for maybe like 20 seconds, and then she put it aside, and she turned around and she said to me, "You shouldn't have done it. You, you, you shouldn't get some junk like that for me." Our family was so rich before that there's nothing you can get now that I haven't seen or held before. There's nothing you can get for me now that uh, would be equal to what I already had. That comment, I don't think she realized at the time. I really have to say I don't believe my mom said it deliberately to hurt. Uh, but it's wounded me in such a deep, uh, visceral way that I would never get and buy anything for her ever again. Not that I'm angry at her still. It still hurt when I think of it, but I'm not really angry about it. It just when I want to buy something for her, I will always remember what she said. Nothing you can get me will match up to what I once had. Then that little bit of spark, that little bit of love for my mother, that little bit of warmth in my heart for her would go cold. So I changed my tactic. Uh, Another Mother's Day, I thought, okay, since I'm not going to get her anything, since nothing I can get would matter, I'm going to take her out for dinner. So I got this uh, gift certificate to a pretty expensive steakhouse, and they just happened to have a promotion on crab dinner that day. So I said, Mom, I'm going to treat you to a crab dinner. That's what I did. I took her out at night for crab. She ordered crab. I ordered steak, and that turned out to be a flop too. Because I don't know how many of you have been to a Chinese restaurant. Now my mom, she's used to Chinese food, and the kind of when you order a crab in Chinese restaurant, it's served with all the fancy trimmings, and they have all kind of interesting ways of preparing it. You can get it deep fried with rock salt, or buttercream sauce, or ginger and onion, or spicy and garlic. You get all kinds of interesting flavors. So my mom was expecting something like that, but the kind of crab you're getting in a steakhouse, in a Western American Canadian steakhouse, it's just crab. They just baked it or cooked it or whatever, and like there's no flavor to it. They give you a little dish of butter that you can, after you shell the crab, you can dip. You can eat it with the butter, and that's it. So, well, my mom looked at her dinner and she was like, "Oh God, what kind of crab is this? This is not crab. This is boring. Why would you pay so much for this stupid dinner like this?" And there again, I was totally wounded to the core. And so in the end, I said, "Here, have my steak." I ordered prime rib. I said, "Here, have my prime rib," and I ate the crab. So almost every single time I went out of my way to try to be a passable son, has resulted in me being embarrassed or humiliated. The only time, strange enough, that it actually worked in my favor was the one year when I gave her nothing. I didn't take her anywhere, but I gave her a card. I gave her Mother's Day card, and it wasn't even written in Mandarin. Like I didn't. Well, I don't know how to type Mandarin, so I wrote it in English. When she first got the card, my mom kind of looked at it and she kind of casually said, "Well, it's nice, but I can't read it, so it's pointless." And by that time, I was pretty much expecting something like this, so it didn't hurt that much. But that night, after I went to bed, or after she thought I went to bed, I heard her talking to her good friend on the phone. And apparently what she's done is she took a translator, a Chinese, English to Chinese dictionary, or one of those electronic translator, and she translated what I wrote word by word, so she could understand it. And she was talking to her friend on the phone while she thought I was in bed, and I heard her. She was in tears. She was like sobbing, and she said, "My son gave me such a nice card, and I'm so touched, and it's nice, and stuff like that." Like she was touched, but I wish she could show it to me. I wish she could, maybe the previous times, maybe when I took her to the steakhouse, maybe when I gave her the candelabra, maybe she felt something. I only wish that she could let me know, rather than turning around and wounding me like that. Because if that night after I gave her the card, if I didn't happen to get out of bed to go get a drink of water, I wouldn't have known that she actually felt something about it. It's really strange between me and my mom. It's always been a kind of really, really tough love situation. When my mom come to stay with me, it usually went this way. I never understood it until recently that I guess I'm getting older and I'm thinking more about my relationship with my family. I used to wonder like why we'd only get along for the first 2 weeks, and then right before she left, we would fight tooth and nail. Like we would fight to the point that I wanted to kick her out. Like, I remember that actually there were several times where I got so mad at her. I actually did say, like I'm paying the rent here. So if you don't like it, if you have problem, just go back to Taiwan. I actually said something like that, and it would take something to really piss me off a lot for me to say something that nasty or that direct. But eventually I came to understand this was my mom's way of coping with not seeing me for a year. This was her way of coping with saying goodbye. So I started to observe that. I started to pay more attention, and indeed, every time she would start to pick fight with me for no reason at all, right before she left. Things that normally wouldn't bug her, things that normally she would be okay with, she would all of a sudden find faults in everything, and she would, it's like she wanted to provoke me into an argument. And even when she's at the airport waiting for her flight, she would phone me and yell at me. She would get me so mad that I wouldn't think about feeling sad about her leaving for another year. I guess in the past 5 years, 6 years, I've really toned down my temperament a lot. To a certain sense, I've reached almost a zen state. It's actually take a lot to piss me off. Once I'm pissed off, I'm still really explosive, as my knuckles can testify. But the last few times my mother came to see me, she got so frustrated because she couldn't provoke me into a fight. So as a result, every time when it came time for her to leave, it was really tender and really awkward for the both of us because we were both trying not to cry, and it's just that kind of, okay, I'm going, you'll be okay, right? Okay, I'm going. Okay, Mom, bye. Mom, you sure you got everything? Kind of thing like that. It was like, and I almost missed the good old days where we just had a good row and then, okay, fuck off, Mom, kind of deal. But yeah, the past few times she got downright frustrated with me, and she said, "What does it take to make you angry? You something's wrong with you. I can't make you angry." I said, "Mom, because I know you are trying to make me angry, so that's why, that's why it's just not working." So there's really not even a point to this clip. If you enjoyed it, I'm glad you're here to hear me ramble on about my dysfunctional relationship with my mother. But a little bit unusual, I know, but I actually don't have a point to make today. I don't have any witty remark other than treasure your mom. Moms are powerful, strong people, but they are people, and they all have their own quirks. We shouldn't expect just because they are mom they should be reasonable all the time, and we shouldn't expect just because they are mom they should do mom-like things all the time. Treat them just like other people, other exceptional, very exceptional people, and you may find that your mom can be your best friend too. Happy Mother's Day to all those people out there, to all of you out there. Be nice to your mom and show her the respect she deserves.